I want to tell you a little story. A few months back, my friend Woody Guthrie and I, we met a young man. He dropped in on us out of nowhere and he played us a song. In that moment, we got a feeling we were getting a glimpse of the future.
A Complete Unknown is Bob Dylan's story in his very early formative years when he lands in New York at the age of 19. This is in the 60s, and he steps into, at the right time in the history, into the musical scene. And we literally follow the first 5 years of his career through his meteoric rise. And essentially, this is a very formative story. It's a very formative period of his life, both personal and his career. But Basil, first question is, how big of a fan are you of Bob Dylan? Let's put that so, because that will influence this review.
So I am a fan of Dylan's music, but I didn't know it. And what I mean by that is there's quite a few songs, like Knocking on Heaven's Door. I didn't even realise Dylan, produced that song and actually came out with that until I started looking into his songs after this movie. Obviously, we've all heard Like a Rolling Stone. That is unescapable. But once again, after viewing this film, and I thought it was really good. Obviously, we'll get into the nitty gritty about it, of why it was good. But, when we watch these films like Bohemian Rhapsody or Rocket Man about Elton John, after these movies, I like to actually listen to the music more, and you can actually have an image of kind of what it was like when they were probably writing these tunes, and it really just make the songs come to life, and especially for younger audiences like myself who wasn't around in the 60s. It really does capture the environment and the essence and the ambience of these eras, and especially the 60s as well. I mean, we had the Cold War going on, the Kennedy assassination, the civil rights movement, so there was an awful lot going on. But yeah, really enjoyed it, and I'm going to enjoy Dylan's music a lot more after this as well. What about yourself, Alex? Does it give more character to the music for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I obviously knew about him, but I'm not a big fan like you. I do enjoy his main songs, but I wasn't aware of his whole career and the background. And this film does that very well. It introduces Bob Dylan, reintroduces it to people like me in my life, and also probably younger audiences, because his songs are timeless, to be honest. But it resonated. I didn't know that it resonated so much with the times. And that's what this film does very well. Like you said, it was a turbulent time at the time in America at the time, and he was writing exactly to that, and that's what this film shows. That sort of growth as an artist, because he grows. A good artist will always reinvent himself based on what his audience, what's happening around him, what society goes through, and that's the sign of a good artist. But at the same time, I like the fact that this film sort of plays a lot with his personal life too, and how that is changing, because he's essentially a very innocent kid that just comes into New York to visit Woody Guthrie, which was in a hospital bed at the time, and he's just talented and he gets picked up, but he evolves even during this film very nicely into sort of like the iconic image that has impacted, that everybody knows, with the glasses and the attitude, and the voice even transforms during the film.
You were in a carnival. You were so completely full of shit. I had lessons as a kid, normal lessons. I write too. I'm not sure there's a way to learn that.
Too hard.
Excuse me?
You tried too hard to write.
Really?
Yeah, if you're asking.
I wasn't.
Sunsets and seagulls, smell of buttercups. Your songs are like an oil painting at the dentist's office.
You're kind of an asshole, Bob.
Yeah, I guess.
Did you get that impression of of complete transformation from beginning to end.
Yeah. It's almost like his character arc, isn't it? In the movie, and you know, from what you see, as you say, in the first segment of the film, he goes to visit Woody Guthrie, kind of like you know, a bit of a folk legend singer for himself, and that's where he meets is it Pete Seeger as well, who's played by Ed Norton, who definitely deserves a mention in this film. Ed Norton is very good in this film. You know, it's hard to distract your attention away from Timothée Chalamet because of how awesome he actually is at playing Dylan. But yeah, Ed Norton definitely deserves a shout out as well. But yeah, so you see him visit these two to see Guthrie in the hospital. He's very poorly, very ill, and you know, at the time he's very shy, you know, a bit sheepish, really. You know, he's among two stars that mean the world to him. And then, you know, very quickly, within a matter of few years, you know, he's you know, the student becomes the master, you know, and you can see that on screen is that Pete Seeger is almost kind of chasing Dylan around, you know, and you can see that the respect has gone because of how big Dylan is, and it's a coming of age, isn't it? It's a coming of age. But yeah, I thought the scenes with Dylan in the later years, when he's probably mid-20s, would you say, he's a man of you know, kind of zeal and class, and just looks cool. You know, he looks like a man of the moment, and he's as you say, he's living day by day, and even his mannerisms and how he talks. You know, I haven't seen any interviews with Bob Dylan. I'm sure Charlemagne's done his research, but it's just very, very on point, very on cue, and a proper artist. I don't know what you think, Alex, but he seemed to be like a proper artist. You know, he's living in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, let's talk about the actors in this film a little bit. So Timothée Chalamet obviously is learned a lot of guitar. So this film was proposed to him, let's call it 6 years before it actually started. And he knew that it's coming, so he started learning to sing. And there is actually clips online of him practicing the guitar while he was filming the first part of Dune, Timothée Chalamet. So I was like, wow, this is how long he started the journey of trying to understand and learn. And then the voice throughout it is not easy. Even Timothée Chalamet's voice is almost all that's pitched into a different way, even when he speaks in the film. So the transformation is amazing. So I think he's obviously nominated for Oscar for this film. And it's interesting because he's 29, I believe, Timothée Chalamet, and it's interesting how it panned out. So if he wins, he will beat Adrien Brody in the category of best actor. And Adrien Brody has an Oscar already, and is the youngest person to ever have an Oscar for the pianist, Adrien Brody. But if Timothy wins, then he will be the youngest person. So he will beat him in historical record and also at best acting category. But it's very tight between the two of them.
Yeah, Adrian's defending his pride then, isn't he, really, with that award? He'll be it makes more kind of passion towards that award, isn't it? But
yeah, he's almost like he'll be handing over the old Oscar to Timothée Chalamet, which is the youngest winner of the best actor. But like you said, Edward Norton is also fantastic. Monica Barbaro, who plays Joan Bates, I think you pronounce it. That's I've seen Stiller a lot of the times, and the music, but also the directing. So James Mangold has made Walk the Line too. And I remember in the very beginning of the film, when he gets to the hospital, there is a frame that I've seen, and others have noticed that, where in one frame you see Woody was on the bed, Pete Seeger, and then in the door frame, far in the distance, Bob Dylan, and you see 3 generations of musicians. And you're almost thinking like, okay, I'm in good hands here. This director knows what he's doing. Let's just enjoy the ride. That's what I felt really early. So what was your overall impression of the enjoyability of this film, Buzz?
Oh well. The directing was spot on. To be truthfully honest with you, you know, the first introduction to Dylan's character, when he's just in he's hitchhiking essentially, and he's going into the city, and you see this wide angle shot of himself, with his little flap cap on, and the big skyscrapers, and the actual, I don't know what they were filming with, but it looks like an advertisement from the 1970s. You know, it looks jaded, but it really clear at the same time. It really gets you in that atmosphere atmosphere of the era, you know, which would have been what, late 1950s, early 60s, and yeah, you know, it got you involved in the politics of the day as well, and even just the TVs in the background going on about the Cold War and the feeling behind that, and a great pacing to the film as well. You know, I think it needs to be mentioned because a lot of the time when you're watching films these days, you find the pacing to be maybe a little bit rushed. I thought this film was perfect. I really did. I have to say, for being a musical film as well, there's a lot of bloody music in it, and I'm not saying that with any jest as well. I don't know about you, but it was very musical piece, you know, and then even in the scenes where it's two characters talking, Dylan's got his guitar and he's just trying to riff, you know, with the lyrics he's just wrote, and I didn't mind that, but I definitely is something worth mentioning. There isn't much break of acoustic guitar for your ears, is it, in the film?
Yeah,
at all.
I mean, it's all. I'm all for it too. Just because you are watching a musician's life, he will always be. Music will be on his mind all the time, and as soon as he gets lyrics, he will, you know, he picks up somebody else's guitar at one point and starts singing. So it's like he's not gonna stop. So I'm all for it. So, but yeah, agreed. Is music heavy, which is very good to have. To be honest, it's Bob Dylan, by the way.
Thank you for watching our review of A Complete Unknown. If you want to watch a similar video about a musical artist, watch Back in Black that me and Alex recorded. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again in the next episode.